Safety training. Good morning. Welcome to Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. It is Thursday, February 6th. Time marches on. And today is Three Squares Day at the State House. And because there is an intersection with economic development, we welcome anyway, but we have a particular intersection today. We welcome Three Squares advocates. It is great to have you all, and we're going to begin with Ivy. We're going to actually begin by introducing ourselves because many of you, not Alan, but many of you are new to this committee, and you should know who we are.
Well, so the we met. My name is Thomas Chittenden. I represent Chittenden Southeast, 11 communities in the Southeast quadrant of Chittenden.
Keep telling people we have 13 communities.
Let's
be wrong. Okay.
You're both so smart.
Senator Keisha still Chittenden Southeast, also in the Senate Authority.
Allison Clarkson, Windsor District.
Randy Brock, Franklin and Grand Isle, part of Northern Grand Isle.
Good morning, guys. Dave Weeks, serving Rutland County.
Terrific. Great. Ivy, it's yours. And we have about 25 minutes. We'll go over a tiny bit just to get everybody in.
Thank you. I deeply appreciate that. Thank you so much, Chair and committee members, for the opportunity to testify today. For the record, my name is Ivy Enoch. I live in Burlington, and I'm the SNAP Policy and Training Lead at Hunger Free Vermont. And we are here with our partners and neighbors for Three Squares Vermont Awareness Day to ask for your support on requests that together move us closer to ending hunger in Vermont. And those requests are to pass legislation to instruct the state to opt into the SNAP Restaurant Meals Program and appropriate $75,000 to cover restaurant startup costs and $100,000 for a staff position within DCF to administer the program. The second is to support $500,000 in base funding to strengthen Vermont farms and food security by sustaining two proven programs run by NOFA Vermont, and that's Crop Cash Plus and Farm Share.
And may I just interrupt to ask, has that bill been introduced in the Senate? And if so, it's not in our committee. So what committee do you know if it's gone to?
I would imagine Senate Ag, but
I would too.
Obvious one there.
But do you know if it has been introduced?
I don't, Chair, but I can get back to you on that one. We are not the lead organizational partner there. Thank you. The second is to support the request for $5 million in base and one-time funding in the FY26 budget for the Vermont Food Bank to be prepared when disasters strike our neighbors in towns across Vermont, to purchase and distribute food, and to support the network of community-based food shelves and meal sites. And finally, to include additional $2 million in base general funding for home-delivered meals for older and disabled Vermonters through the Meals on Wheels program. The federal nutrition program known as SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is called Three Squares Vermont in Vermont. It used to be known as food stamps, and it's intended to help people with low incomes buy the groceries that they need to prevent hunger. The Three Squares Vermont program is administered by the Department for Children and Families Economic Services Division. And we've heard, we will continue to hear that Three Squares Vermont is a lifeline for people who participate in the program. And in many cases, it's the only reason they're able to afford groceries. And as someone who was raised by an extremely loving and hardworking single father, raising twin daughters, I'll add, I know that the SNAP benefits my dad received was our entire monthly grocery budget. And I know firsthand the power of SNAP to help families get by, to catch up, all while still experiencing the joy of a nourishing shared meal. So it's really true to say that I wouldn't be where I am today without the SNAP program. Eligibility for SNAP is determined by both the federal government and the state. The first requirement is income eligibility, so it's quite restrictive. And families and individuals who are eligible for the program have to make below 185% of the federal poverty line. So just for an example, a family of four would need to make about $57,000 a year to qualify for the program. And that is about half of what the Joint Fiscal Office calculates as an appropriate annual budget to meet your basic needs. The Three Squares Vermont benefits themselves are deposited every month on an EBT card that looks and works just like a regular debit card. So a trip to the grocery store is a very private, dignified experience for its shoppers. Retailers who accept SNAP, of which there are 700 across the state of Vermont, have complex computer systems that automatically identify SNAP eligible items. So people can only purchase specific food items with their benefits. The program itself keeps about $13 million, federal dollars, in our state economy every single month, supporting our farmers, our growers, our businesses, and our entire economy as a whole. In Vermont, about 65,000 people or 40,000 households receive Three Squares Vermont, and more than half of those folks are older adults or children. While Three Squares Vermont effectively reaches the most low-income folks in our state, we know that the program reaches only 40% of those who could be eligible, and that's based on the census income data. And there are a number of reasons for that discrepancy, including additional eligibility requirements beyond just income requirements, but also the complex application process, as well as stigma and shame associated with the program, which unfortunately is alive and well today. We see an even greater gap between the number of Vermonters reached by Three Squares Vermont and the number of folks who are at risk of hunger. And in 2022, UVM researchers found that 2 in 5 people in Vermont were at risk of hunger over the past 5 years. And nationally, we know that hunger is rising year over year. And compared to 2021, 4.5 million more people in our country are experiencing hunger. So this is an issue that is not going away. It's not a simple one to solve. Three Squares Vermont is our most effective anti-hunger program. And at the same time, it doesn't reach everybody. Three Squares Vermont is just one part of the safety net program, or the safety net system rather, and it can't meet the need on its own. It's really not designed to do that. So that's why our ask today identified other programs that are really needed to thrive in our state to support the food security of our neighbors and community members as a whole. And so the message we really want to convey to you today is that together we can work to ensure that everyone in Vermont at all times has the food they need to thrive. That is possible. And legislators have a critical role to play in making policy decisions that ensure food security for all. We really appreciate your time. I know you're crunched for time. So I wonder if you want to invite the next speaker.
Because I believe our intersection with economic development is with our retailers and our restaurants with this proposal. Yeah, so Ivy, thank you. Any questions for Ivy? We have 3 other people who I think are going to speak. Alan, I think is next.
Thank you.
Great, Ivy, thank you very much. And your testimony, I believe you sent to Heidi and I think is posted on today's website. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Alan, welcome back to this committee.
Chair Clarkson, thank you so much. Members of the committee, thanks for hearing my remarks and considering my comments to you. For the record, my name is Alan Reeds. I serve as Director of Public and Government Affairs for the Hanover Co-op Food Stores of Vermont and New Hampshire. For those not familiar with our organization, we go back to 1936 and our roots and commitment to Vermont runs deep. For a few examples, we've got a bustling store on Maple Street in White River Junction, an auto service center in Norwich, production kitchen in Wilder, and I work out of our administrative offices in Hartford. We have about $8 million in payroll in Vermont, and we purchase about $13 million annually from Vermont food and farm producers. My work centers on mostly affordable workforce housing and those ag issues. And when it comes to food and hunger, our entire organization has been focused on that for decades. When it comes to food assistance efforts, the success in our Vermont store has delivered hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings to struggling Vermonters. I'll share a few details just further in my remarks, but if you remember one thing from my comments and testimony today, please know that cooperatives like ours and independent retailers across the state have an unwavering commitment to serve their communities. We all can imagine that running an independent small store is hard work, but we learned long ago that it's one thing to be neighbors. Being neighborly is where we really strengthen our communities. In the months and years ahead, I want you to know that we are out there supporting your efforts when we are in our stores at work every single day, because that's how we strengthen and support local residents. You're doing your work here, and we're doing work as well. And when we strengthen and help Vermonters get the food they need, that could be a senior who has to have a full meal before taking their medications. It could be that mother who wants to put quality proteins on the dinner plate for their child. Or if you've ever raised a teenager, you know how hard it is to keep a full refrigerator. The impact of lack of food, say for a teenager, is hard for parent and certainly for teen. Some in this room have lived that experience. Each day in our stores, we're seeing the difference you're making. And when I heard news of the restaurant meals program being considered, I thought that was fantastic because it echoes what we saw with the Everyone Eats program. We have small businesses who are very eager to participate and help out. That's been proven, and that program can certainly help deliver some impact. Even though hunger and the need for assistance is on the increase, I want to emphasize we're making a difference and reducing a lot of pain. Now, for a few details. At Hanover Co-op and at cooperatives around the state, such as Hunger Mountain, City Market, Brattleboro, Middlebury, others, we have a program called Food for All. That's where we as businesses discount SNAP and WIC eligible products by another 10%. Okay, so we're keeping more of those SNAP, WIC, three squares dollars in the pockets ready to be used and stretch a dollar. But as Ivy pointed out, the threshold for qualification is still pretty tight. So if a shopper comes in with a letter from a food service organization, a community service organization around us that's listening in the Haven, they come in with a letter just demonstrating need, we enroll them in Food for All. So when they show that card, have honor and dignity, their groceries, when it's a SNAP or WIC eligible product, discounted 10%. So that's one way that we can make an impact. And in the case of food co-ops like ours, some people think, well, who's shopping at a co-op that's really, has a need for low-income groceries? Stop by our store. I'll give you a tour and I'll show you how we do it every single day. And how we've done it with that Food for All program is discounted the food for those in need by over $350,000 in the last 8 years. So again, that's stretching a food dollar. And yes, it comes out of our bottom line. And yes, it is food that is going into pantries and refrigerators. I'll wrap up my remarks here by saying that, as Ivy pointed out, there are grocery retailers who are pleased to be part of this and many more who would like to. I had a call yesterday with Lauren Stevens, the owner of Brownsville Butcher and Pantry. She had said to me, 2025 is the year she wants to get her store enrolled. And I said, when you're ready, come up to our store. I'll put you in touch with our teams. We'll show you the ins and outs of how we do it to make sure that you're successful from the get-go. So we know that January's cold temperatures have turned into dwindling wood piles and depleted oil tanks. When it comes to food, we want to make it a little bit easier so people can balance those needs. Thank you so much. And I'm really grateful for your interest and commitment to these issues.
Thank you, Alan. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My mother just moved here from Los Angeles, where she was on the board of Co-Opportunity for 35 years. So big co-op fan. This might be a broader question / comment. I'm working on a food security bill with Senator Joe Major, the Vice Chair of Agriculture. And I've been talking to some folks working on a food security system in Addison County. One of the big takeaways that I think you all know better than we do about the restaurant program, et cetera, is that people of all stripes who are busy, right? I have 2 little kids, need about 75% prepared food, and 25%, whole foods, let's say, shelf food. And so they are working to reduce the cost of getting that supply chain to the prepared food. So gleaning from local farm, giving a tax break, or counting it as, part of their earning, what am I trying to say? Their profits to be considered a farm, and getting that gleaned food to a production facility so that it can be turned into prepared food that can be offered to people to make their food stamps, their benefits stretch further. Sorry. I was a food stamp kid myself, so it's hard to break the language. So you all are creating that ecosystem. I'm looking for ways we can help you in a food security bill that helps, make it more financially feasible to get through that full supply chain from local farm products to prepared food.
You have our commitment. When I say our, I'm referencing Hanover Co-op. To step in, step up, help out in any way possible. I know that you probably are familiar with my colleague Becca White, who worked on a number of issues, and I see.
It is our call.
Well, we have a Becca White in our.
That's right. You have who goes by Becca or Rebecca?
She goes by both.
Yeah,
We confuse it. We make the
I know.
confusion easy to have.
it's a complicated.
And I
challenge.
have been in contact with Senator Major, so
Great.
my number is your number. It's not possible to bug me. I stand ready to help any way possible.
And do you deal with Salvation Farms at the moment?
I'm connected with them. I'm on the Vermont Dairy
Yeah.
Commission. I'm on,
You're
Vermont
on
Farm to
all the
Plate.
things.
I,
Okay.
Becca
I know
and
there's
I,
Becca.
work so well together. Thank you, and I'll make way for others. I have a printed copy.
Oh,
of
great.
my
That would be
remarks.
perfect. I give it to Heidi.
I just.
Alan, thank you.
Paper.
And thank you for the co-op's commitment. And I
Um,
think we're next going to hear from Georgie Rubens. Hi, that's you. And then we're going to hear from Trevor and not Lisa. So thank you, Trevor, for coming today. And we have about 10 minutes.
Okay, I'll try and speed through. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Georgie Rubens. I live in Burlington and I am the director of the Burlington Farmers Market. And I also sit on the board of the Vermont Farmers Market Association. So I am here today to talk about 3 Squares Vermont and to ask you to support No for Vermont's request for $500,000 in base funding to strengthen Vermont farm viability and address food security by sustaining 2 proven programs, Crop Cash Plus and Farm Share. The Crop Cash program, it doubles 3 Squares Vermont SNAP benefits for fruits and vegetables purchased at Vermont farmers markets. And it's primarily federally funded, but it does require a local cash match contribution. In 2023, Crop Cash Plus expanded Crop Cash to all SNAP eligible foods, meat, eggs, dairy, bread, those kinds of things. But the program had to be paused in 2024 due to lack of funding. And so the reason that I support the
On our part or the Fed's part?
I believe it was state funding right now, but yes, that's correct, yes.
And what is the match requirement? Is it 50-50? What is it?
I honestly, I'll have to find that out, I'm afraid.
I definitely support this and I love the notion of it. My question is, I heard somebody say that our grocery stores are very sophisticated in identifying which items are SNAP eligible. Or do our farmers market have that same to allow scrutiny?
So for us, it comes down to vendor education. And so we work with our farm, with individual vendors, we do an orientation and everyone that's part of the market goes through training. And if they incorrectly, we check everyone that accepts those coupons. If they accept them incorrectly, we talk to them and they're the ones losing money. So it's in their interest to know the system.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the reason I support this ask so strongly is because I've seen this program make such a difference to so many customers at the farmers market each week. Every market I interact with a number of customers, I run their EBT cards and in return give them tokens and Crop Cash coupons to spend at the market. And having the opportunity to educate customers new to the program is one of the things I love most about my job. It's not uncommon for someone to come to the market and for that to be the first time that they learn about Crop Cash and Crop Cash Plus. And it never gets old when you see someone learn that they're going to have all these additional funds to spend on produce and other grocery items at the market. I will never forget last summer, there was one customer in particular. She came to the booth to redeem tokens. It was the first market of the season where the Crop Cash Plus triple match was in effect. And I ran her EBT card. I gave her $40 more than she was expecting. And she thought I'd made a mistake. And I explained that more funds had been made available. And that's why that she had all of these funds and coupons to spend. And I had to explain 3 more times before she would accept that she had this money to spend, and before she would believe me and take the coupons and go and enjoy the market. And so she was so thrilled. She did her shopping. She came back. She saw me. She showed me everything she bought and just expressed her gratitude.
That's great.
And it's not an uncommon thing to happen. People, so it makes such, you can just see in their eyes, it makes such a big difference to them. And so I often think about this customer and the many others that benefit from the program. The program gives them funds to purchase not just fresh produce, but also a range of grocery items to cover all of their dietary needs. And as a market manager, consistent funding would enable me to reassure customers that they'll continue to have this support, and they'll be able to reliably plan the budget around it for the foreseeable future. Outside of our customers, consistent funding for Crop Cash Plus would also support our farmer vendors, as some of whom attribute up to 30% of sales on any given market day to transactions paid with Crop Cash Plus. Every market day, I'll check in with all of our vendors, and when the program isn't running, I often am asked by our farmer vendors if and when the program is coming back. And that's because all these farmers selling meat, cheese, eggs that aren't covered by Crop Cash alone, when Crop Cash Plus isn't running, their revenue takes a hit. And so again, this consistent funding would allow these farmers to better anticipate sales revenue, grow their revenue, and also just support their overall business planning. So not only does the program support our customers accessing a well-rounded diet, but it also supports our local food economy. About half of the Burlington Farmers Market vendors are SNAP and Network Crop Cash Plus eligible. Only an eighth or so accept just Crop Cash. And so this consistent funding would not only bring our customers more choice with their grocery shopping, but it would also include more of our farmers and vendors and contribute overall to a stronger local economy and community. So I'm a pragmatist, former farmer. I care deeply about food access and this double impact it has, supporting access to fresh and healthy food while simultaneously supporting our farms and the economy. It just makes so much sense to me. And that's why I very much hope people support the program or the ask, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think at the end, I'm going to go back to Ivy, understand completely the federal state match here. But thank you so much, Dorothy. Trevor, come join us. And Alan, did you submit your testimony electronically?
I did also.
Great.
Yep.
Great. Great. Perfect.
Good morning. Hi.
Trevor, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Chair and Committee. Yeah, as you pointed out, my wife, Lisa, was supposed to be here today, but she's home with our baby. So she's much more intelligent and good looking than I am. So I'm sorry. But anyways, yeah, my name is Trevor Sullivan, and I opened a restaurant in Burlington 11 years ago called Pingala. And
Oh my gosh, I've been pronouncing it wrong.
tomato, we hear that all the time. It's all
How do you
good.
pronounce
Pingala, like the,
Yeah.
Yes,
like
I would have.
mandala, like.
Yeah, phonetically, totally, that makes sense. It's a Sanskrit word, which means sun energy, life
Oh,
force.
lovely.
We're all plant-based.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's yeah, but it's really turned into so much more than I ever would have dreamed. I opened with myself and like 2 or 3 other people. We have close to 30 staffers now. We have 2 locations. We have a food truck. We have an outpost in the UVM data center. And I'll be kind of brief and cut to the point. When COVID happened and this program called Everyone Eats came together, it really shed light on what sort of food insecurities we're experiencing just in Burlington with families and the elderly and just across all demographics. And it gave us a chance to participate and help in ways that we never had been able to before. We were serving at the peak of it 125 meals a day, 7 days a week to folks that were getting these vouchers and redeeming them. And since that program ended in 2023, and I know there were efforts to keep it going, there's a lot of legwork done. There's so many other things to do. It's left a huge hole in not only our financial model, but our hearts. We wanted to continue helping, and we sort of put together this like program, very simple concept, pay it forward sort of meal where folks that have the funds available can buy a voucher and then it can get redeemed. And we tried to continue this program online through online ordering, so people had the dignity to just place the order however. And long story short, we're experiencing that for every 1 meal that's purchased, we're serving about 4 or 5 meals. So, this year alone, we've served about 500 meals that did not get paid forward, but we were just wanting to, like, what are we supposed to do? Just say no to these folks that really need this food. So the idea of this program being something, you know, we have no expectations that it's going to become everyone eats, or maybe it's going to become stronger. We just want to be a part of, and I can speak for friends in the business in Burlington anyway, that, you know, that the same situation, it's just left a huge hole, and we just want to help.
So this would be, people would be able to use their EBT card at restaurants.
Yes, please. Yeah.
And what is,
absolutely.
and so it would be like, as we have done with our 700 food retailers and food and farmers markets,
Yeah.
it would be sort of a similar rollout. And what you're asking for, I'm what's it called again? What are we calling this program?
Restaurant meal program is RMP. Yes.
Am I okay to answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an option that states can tap into in their relationship in administering SNAP.
It's
And
already available right now.
11 other states have
Yeah,
already
what I thought.
selected this, and it's called the SNAP Restaurant Meals Program. And you think like, you know, SNAP is the program, Restaurant Meals Program is just one of the options that folks can use.
And 11 other states have done it reasonably successfully.
Correct.
And so you're, just to clarify, you're asking for 75 or 100 or both.
We're asking-
To put to roll it out here.
Exactly. And so it's both because DCF really needs a full-time position to make sure that it is crafted carefully, and that, you know, there is administrative space to roll out this program with integrity. So that's the $100,000, and $75,000 is to support restaurants who might need to make point of sale changes, restaurants who might need to you know, go through any sort of potential administrative costs to become SNAP authorized, as retailers do.
Right. I think David.
So just a quick question. So this came through Health and Welfare last year. They were.
Then what happened?
That's my question.
What happened, Ivy?
So it ended up the ask or the request was simplified a bit. So what the Department for Children and Families was tasked to do was to write a report to articulate what would it look like to roll this out? What are the administrative responsibilities? What's the administrative burden? What impact would this have on SNAP participants, recognizing that it's just older adults, folks with disabilities, and homeless folks who could potentially use their benefits at restaurants. And it makes so much sense why those are the populations that this program is trying to serve. The report's coming out in March, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Trevor, anything else?
No, I'm glad to have been here today. Thank you for your time.
Well, we're really glad, and thank you for all that you're doing for the people who have certainly become enamored of your fabulous.
Yeah, they seem to be liking the food, and
Clearly, my colleague on the right. So do you serve, what, it's a Sanskrit word.
Yeah, it's
Sun,
because the Sanskrit word we
Sorry,
open right
sun,
next
what does it mean again?
to sun energy and life force is
Oh
kind
my
of the
God.
basic.
that's great.
We opened next to a yoga studio in the Chase Mill building years ago, and I was taking a lot of yoga classes. We happen to be a all vegan, plant-based spot, so sun energy seems pretty essential both
Yeah.
to the food that we're serving, the energy we want to have in the restaurant, and and also something that Everyone Eats sort of showed us was like there were so many people that had never tried food like this before.
Oh, that's
And
right, yeah.
we hired folks through this program because they wanted to keep working with us. So many people that were like, I just love the food. It's so good. And, you know, of course, we're buying tons of local foods too. So it's been a great experience, and we just, want to continue
Right.
being part of it.
Yeah, patient, and then,
And then we're wrapping. right?
yeah, we're gonna wrap it in a
Yeah.
sec, because I just want to ask if we decide to include this in our economic development bill, because it is its intersection with our retailers and with restaurants makes some sense. And
It's
thank
a
you.
DCF appropriation.
Yeah, it is a DCF. Anyway, I just want to chat about who additionally we would want to hear from DCF, obviously. Sorry, you had a question.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I hope we support it. I think it would still probably go through Health and Welfare as the appropriation request.
Yeah.
But I often try to say whether supporting Everyone Eats or a program that takes its place, you know, one thing that it's so important to talk about is that Other countries often have a right to eat out, and it's something that breaks social isolation and enhances people's quality of life. And that's one of our biggest health risks and social determinants of health right now is isolation and loneliness. And so, just continuing to talk about it as a real public health solution that's very affordable, as well as helping our small businesses. I think it's really valuable, and I look forward to supporting it.
Yeah, no, thank you. This is just